Blog Talk Radio.
Yeah, I had a pretty baby. Man, her love was sweet. She making me crazy, babe. Most every time we meet. But you're just so good to me, woman. And I love her just the same. Yeah, she's just so good to me, woman. And it's a hard enough feeling. Yeah, it's a hard enough feeling. Without your love, it's not the same. I know you sharp, baby. You sharp as a knife. I have one piece of your loving, but can you cut me off one more slice? You're still running, running, running. Yeah, you running. You just keep running, whoa, running. Now you keep running, but it's a hard enough feeling. It's a hard enough feeling without your love, without your love. It's not the same. Oh, it's not the same. And as time goes on, I keep wondering where you've been. You're the one that got away from me, honey, and I just keep suffering. You're running, running, running. Lord, you just keep running, running, running. Lord, you just keep running. Ooh, running, running. Lord, you running, you running, you running. But it's a hard enough feeling. Whoa, it's a hard enough feeling without your love, without your love. It's not the same. No, it's not the same. I want you to love me. No, it's not the same. Just one more time. Every now and every day I want you. Now just give me one piece, oh. I want your love, love, love. I want your love, I want your love, I want your love. Every night can get me so high.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Off the Chain. I am your host, Yvonne Mason, and that was Hard Feeling by the Teskey Brothers. Remember, I said that Australia is our biggest listening base at 96% just on Blog Talk Radio. Well, the Teskey Brothers are a blues band out of Australia. And remember when I said they are a mixture of Johnny Lang, Eric Clapton, B.B. King, Roy Orbison, and all those other blues greats? I stand on what I said. This band is absolutely phenomenal. I don't know where they get their talent, but I'm telling you, if you have not ordered their music, go to iTunes and download it or look them up on the internet. It's the Teskey Brothers, Teskey. They're everywhere, and download their music. Also friend them on Facebook. We start a new week, ladies and gentlemen, and on this show alone, you know, I'm so proud of this show because of all of y'all, my listeners, my guests. On this show alone, we have reached 69,822 listeners just on the show. Worldwide, when we include all of the podcasts, we're heard in over 70 countries. We've reached 87,260 listeners. We are so close to 100,000 listeners. It just tickles me to death because this show is so successful, and my guests are seeing the fruits of their labor by coming on this show. They're getting their books read in places like Japan and the UK and France and all over the place. So thank you all for your continued support. I thank my guests for coming on here all the time and continuing to come on here because we have so much fun. And that brings me to a new guest. She's never been on the show before, but I dare say she'll be coming back. Her name is author Cherron Riser, and she is a multi-genre author that writes in romance, paranormal, fantasy, and sci-fi for both adults and young adults. And when she's not hard at work on her next novel, she can be found with a good read in hand or trying to convince her puppies that she is, in fact, a dog and not a person. Now, before the show, I told her when she figures that out and convinces her dogs that they are indeed four-legged babies and not people, to please let me know, because my Maltese swears he's a person. She is a wife and mother with two girls. Her family is unabashedly geeky and enjoys sharing a good board game or role-playing game. She is happy to spend time at conventions, enjoying books and the geek life with friends, family, and fans. Welcome, Cherron. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Now, you and I were talking before the show, and I said that I like for the folks to know your history, and part of their history is it was Fall Down Funny, and I hope you don't mind sharing how you got your name, because that was hysterical.
Yeah, when I was born, my parents, you know, as all parents do, they talked about names, and they had decided they were going to name me Jessica. And then I was born, and my dad decided he didn't like that name anymore and decided that's not what I was going to be. So they spent 3 days in the hospital trying to decide on my name. And it got to the point that the hospital finally was like, we're just going to put baby girl on the birth certificate. You guys can figure it out later.
And then I go ahead.
And then, so Cherron is actually my middle name because my father, he's Puerto Rican, and at the time, he just could not pronounce it correctly, so he decided he loved the name, but it was going to be my middle name.
It's beautiful. And ladies and gentlemen, I in my ultimate wisdom said, I could see it now, baby girl riser author. And, of course, nobody puts baby in a corner. You know, it just went off on that tangent. What can I say?
It did.
So a little bit about how you got here, because you write, and like I said, I picked that song because you do write romance, and the name of that song was Hard Feeling, and sadly that does happen in romances. There are hard feelings. How did you blend romance, paranormal, fantasy, sci-fi, which they all come together in one form or another? What got you here? Was it something you wanted to do your entire life? Was it something you fell into? How did that happen?
Well, in the 8th grade, my friends and I was always kind of a geeky kid. I wasn't very popular in school, but my friends and I, we decided we wanted a club. So we were going to have a club, and we decided our club was going to be about writing. None of us had really done it before, In fact, before then, I wanted to be a singer. That was my whole thing. But we decided to all get spiral notebooks, and we had to write every week, and then we'd get together and share it. And it kind of just progressed from there. Like in high school, I went through the phase of writing like fan fictions, mostly about boy bands, because that was the big thing when I was in high school.
Yeah, of course.
But then when I got older, I started getting more involved in the geek community and role-playing games and stuff like that. And superhero movies and sci-fi movies started to get real popular. So I'd go to the movies and be like, oh, that's really cool. And I started to get all of that influence. But at the end of the day, I really like romance. So even my stories that aren't like romance focused has romance in it, because I feel like that's just a part of life. Everybody, there's romance in life, in even in the hard times or in stressful times or in action or anything, it's there. But it doesn't incorporate in it.
Because it's back to the action. The guy always has to stop and kiss the girl that he's trying to save in an action movie, even though he's fixing to get blown to smithereens. He's got to stop and kiss the girl, you know.
Exactly. Exactly. So, you know, and you see it in all forms of art. You see it in movies and songs and stuff. So, you know, I remember reading like the Twilight books and going, man, I wish she would really like have finished writing that. I know it's for young adults, but man, I wish she would have finished writing that. And I would sit down and I would finish it out for, you know, on a piece of paper, you know, and started going into young adults because my children are getting older, and a lot of my friends prefer that style. So I've started branching out.
How do you incorporate all four of those genres in one book, or do you incorporate some of them, or do you keep them strictly apart from each other?
There's overlap in some of them. I don't think there's anything that I've written that has everything in it. My main series that I write is my Slice series, and it's a paranormal book that started out as a few paranormal romance short stories, and then I expanded it. But the series itself didn't stay romance. It focused more on the paranormal aspects of it. So that's paranormal romance.
Your Slice of Resistance book cover is a killer. I'm sitting here looking at it, and ladies and gentlemen, the synopsis goes: Jax and Jericho have yet to find each other, and time was running out. Lenora was due to give birth at any moment, and the assault on Slice was quickly approaching. Settling in their childhood home, the only place they believed Slice would not find them was the only safe bet until the baby was born. Shifters from all over being called in for the battle to come. No longer would Slice be something to fear. Now they would be something to be destroyed. So SLICE is an acronym for Supernatural Laboratories for the Investigation of Chaotic Entities.
Yes.
That's a mouthful. Okay, explain that.
And I can't even take credit for that because I was writing the story, and I'm like, I need a good villain name. And I told you most of my friends are geeks, and so I got on chat with a bunch of my friends, and my friend Dustin came up with that. And I was like, that's perfect. So I tell everybody, my friend Dustin came up with that, and I love him for it because it really just, it's amazing.
It's a mouthful. So what are the chaotic? What are the chaotic entities?
Chaotic entities would be anything that's not human. So in the Slice world, it's a shapeshifter series, but it's not like most shapeshifter series that you see. You have people who turn into bears or wolves or dragons, or they have an animal form. But in this world, there are some who turn into animals. There's some who turn into people. There are some who can shapeshift into multiple different types of things. And there's one character who actually can touch something and shapeshift the object that he touches. So it's shapeshifting, but it's not traditional shapeshifting.
No wonder they're chaotic. They don't know who they are.
Yeah.
I like
exactly,
it.
and they're always running.
Now, the first in the series is called A Slice of Truth. Now, ladies and gentlemen, no, y'all can't go now. You've got to wait. Run, hide, and don't let them get you. Once Slice gets their hands on you, there's no coming back. They take your family, they kill your friends, all in the name of some twisted scientific authority. Jax and Jericho Masterson saw firsthand what Slice could do when they came for their parents. Now on the run, the two are struggling to live in a world neither of them has ever experienced. Being raised off the grid in the woods of the Smoky Mountains has left them without the skills needed to deal with human society, but they will learn the hard way. So they must be shifters.
Yes. Jax and Jericho are twin brothers who are shapeshifters.
Okay. Max Stratford only wanted to be the best big brother any little girl could ask for. He never did anything to call attention to himself and always tried to do the right thing. Never would he have thought to be the target of a government agency no one had ever heard of. With a dead heart, he will save his even if it kills him.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. And the covers, ladies and gentlemen, are to die for. They are absolutely amazing. Your covers are just mind-blowing.
My covers are all done. Every cover that I have from when I released Defying Destiny since has all been done by Patty Roberts. She does Paradox book covers, and she's got a Facebook page. She's amazing, and she's so sweet. She lives in Australia, and she's just so sweet and amazing job with her covers. I love them.
She makes me want to read. She makes me want to say, "I'm sorry, folks, the show's over, and go get the books now." They are that beautiful. I love them. So,
yes.
Then you have. What made you want to write about shapeshifters?
Well, I've always been interested in like vampires and shapeshifters and stuff like that. And like when I first started role playing games, that's the type of games I played a lot of, was vampire type role playing games and stuff like that. So that's when the paranormal stuff really became very interesting to me. And I like the mystery involved and the struggle involved of do you want people to know, or do you have to keep it secret, and why, and things like that.
Interesting. Very interesting. And I haven't read your books, but I'm going to have to read your books.
Sometimes it's also nice to just not be in the real world, you know. Just
true.
Get away from it all.
Now, A Slice of Revenge is coming out next year, right?
Yes. Hopefully the end of January, but I've had a few things come up, and so I'm running behind, but I'm going to try to get it finished up on time.
Is it the last in the series, or are there more behind it?
It is the third, and so there will be one more after it.
Aha.
There will be four in the series.
So, ladies and gentlemen, no, y'all can't go now. That's just part of her book, so I suggest y'all hang around, because that was just a teaser, because I couldn't resist. Now, before I get to your passion, I want to know how you convince your dogs that they're not really people, that they really are dogs.
I try. I tell them to get off of me, that they can't sit on the couch. I have a pit bull, and she actually sits like a person on the couch, and she will not sit on the floor like a normal dog. She has to sit on the couch. And if there's no room for her on the couch, she paces until there.
Are you kidding me?
No, not at all. She will not sleep on the floor. It is hilarious.
Oh my! Now my Maltese, he at night when he gets tired, if we're sitting out on the back patio watching television outside, he makes us come in so he can get on his end of the couch and get in the corner and put his head on the arm of the couch and go to sleep.
Yeah.
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 So,
Sissy, my pit bull, likes to do that too. She has her spot. That's her spot, and she wants it all the time, and it's funny.
Does she get upset when two-legged humans sit down in her spot?
Oh, very much so. She'll give the evil eye, like, "Hey, that's my spot. Why are you trying to sit there?" And she gives you sad face, like, that makes you feel incredibly guilty for sitting down. Like, but that's where I was sitting. Why are you sitting there? It's so funny.
So apparently there is no making the four-legged creatures understand that they're not really people, that they're really dogs.
Yeah, there isn't. There's no way.
Okay, just making sure, because the Maltese is just hopeless. He is not going to change.
Yeah.
He owns us. Yeah, he owns us. So let's talk a little bit about autism awareness, because that is one of your passions. And if you've heard any of my shows, you know that I say that every child has a purpose. And my definition of a child that has a disability is not that they're disabled, because I have a brother that is disabled. They're not disabled. They're unique. Mm-hmm. And they bring things to the table that are phenomenal.
Very much so. I actually grew up with a brother who, when I was growing up, autism wasn't really a thing. Nobody really talked about it. So the doctors said he had ADD, but it was very obvious he wasn't, that there was something more. But I'm younger than him. He actually still lives with me, but I didn't know that he was different. He was just my brother. So the doctor said he'd never ride a bike, and I decided he had to learn to ride a bike because I wanted to ride my bike. And so I taught him to ride a bike, and things like that. I never looked at him differently. I was very protective of him because he was very shy and quiet and stuff like that, but I never looked at him as being different. And then when I had my daughter, and we knew something was different, because she didn't start doing things on time like most kids. Like the big thing was she didn't start talking until she was 4, and she walked funny and things like that. And it was little things, but we knew. And so we when we were putting her in kindergarten, they insisted she had to get tested, and that's when we discovered that she also had autism. And so it became something that was so ingrained in my life. My brother lives with me and my daughter, and it became something that in our house, we don't talk about it as a bad thing. Like you said, everybody's different and everybody's special, but that doesn't mean they can't do things. My brother actually is, he does something called Twitch, where you play video games online, and he just got affiliate status, so he actually gets paid to do that. And it's something he's passionate about. My oldest daughter, she has stage fright, but she cosplays. So she dresses up as characters constantly. And when she does that, she's not afraid anymore. Oh, made me cry.
Gives me chill bumps. Because I love it. It's amazing. Because, see, sadly, society, the doctors told my mom the same thing. And my brother was born in 52, because I was born in 51, that he would never do anything, that he would be a vegetable, and they just needed to put him away somewhere and have more kids, like puppies. Knock them in the head with a rock when they're deformed and have another when you replace it. Well, she did. Yeah. And instead of me teaching him how to ride a bike, he learned first, because I was a fraidy cat. And when I saw him riding a bike, this child that was never supposed to walk, talk, go to the bathroom by himself was riding a bicycle. Well, when I see him riding a bicycle, I'm thinking, well, you idiot. He's riding a bicycle. Why aren't you?
And that's the amazing thing. My daughter especially, she has such confidence about it. And I had made a friend recently, and he didn't want anybody to know. And I told my daughter about it, and she's like, I just don't understand. He should wear it proud. He needs to get a puzzle T-shirt and walk around with it.
Yes.
You know, and she lets everybody know. She's like, yeah, I'm that way, but you know what? That's just me. And if you don't like me, oh well.
and that is the way that we all should be, because, Cherron, think about it. There's something different about all of us.
Exactly. We're all different. We all have our own obstacles to overcome and things that we, you know, life's a journey, and we all have our own story, and we have to live it. So just because somebody's different in one way, they're still, I mean, yeah, it's I get overwhelmed with it sometimes.
I know, which is just because someone doesn't fit society's box, it makes them an oddity. Well, guess what? Look in the mirror, people, because I'm left-handed in a right-handed world. When I get tired, I stutter. I walk in a crowded room, and because I'm an empath, I pick up every emotion and energy in the room, and it just drives me crazy, because you get the bad emotion, get the good emotion, get the bad energy, get the good energy, get the negative energy, and sometimes it's overwhelming.
Exactly.
And I don't know if you heard the show I did with another author who is also an empath. And she has been hired by Yale University to put together a program to show how people who are autistic and schizophrenic, that they are really empaths. And because
interesting.
Yes, you got to go back and listen to it. It's amazing. And because they don't know how to control all the energy that flows into them, they react in different ways. Some of them shut down. Some of them talk to the voices in the head. Of course, as authors, we talk to the voices in our head all the time. I have arguments with mine. And
yes.
So, but they have determined that people that are defined as autistic, and 99% of schizophrenic and autistic human beings are geniuses, but they cannot handle all the energy in the room because they don't know how to put up that shield to protect them.
Yeah, I know, especially my daughter, when there's a lot of noise and emotions going on in the room, she gets overwhelmed and has to go find some quiet time. She actually, at school, is allowed to carry a little stuffed animal that she has some lavender oil on. And when she gets overwhelmed at school, she just sits there and smells it for a little bit and calms down.
Oh, bless her. Because she's picking up all the energy in the classroom, negative, positive, indifferent, and she doesn't know how to put up that wall to keep it out. Like her, I can't stand to be in a crowd. I don't like to be in a crowd of people. I don't like to be on a plane. I don't like to be on a bus. I don't like to be in a football stadium walking in that crowd of people, because I pick up everything that's going on around me. So God love her. I totally get where she's coming from.
Yeah, and so we work with her on calming and things like that. We try to be very aware of stuff like that. And, you know, I'm not perfect. There's days that, you know, she's having issues and I'm having issues and we clash.
Well, I think that's a normal reaction, honey. You got a daughter. I have how many have I got? 3. So, yeah, that's a normal thing with moms and their daughters. So she'll outgrow it. So let's talk a little bit about the book you did, Pieces of the Heart. Are you with me? For some reason, ladies and gentlemen, we have lost Cherron, but hopefully she'll come back. I don't know if we've dropped her. She's moved into another area. What's happened? Because I don't hear her at all now. Cherron? So we will just muddle on. Let me see if I can get her to call back in, because I don't know. She faded out on me. And we will talk about her books for a bit. She's on Facebook chat. Yes, you did. Yes, Cherron, call back in. But we will just carry on until she calls back in and we pick her back up. But she has written some other lovely books, and one of them that I want to talk about is Pieces of the Heart, because with Pieces of the Heart, it was authors for autism that got together to write this book, and a bit of the money that they earn off of this book goes back to the autistic research. And she has found us again, so let's see if we can get her. Can we hear you now? Are you there? Okay.
Yes, I think I'm back. I don't know what happened.
Well, I just soldiered on. What I wanted to talk about, and I was telling the audience a little bit about it, was the book that you were participating in called Pieces of the Heart, where a group of y'all got together and I guess wrote short stories for this book.
Yes, it is a collection of different types of romance stories. So there's historical romance, there's contemporary, there's some comedy, drama, paranormal. Excuse me. There's a bunch of different types of romance stories. Most of them are between 5,000 to 6,000 words, so they take about 15 minutes to read probably. So nice little short reads. And it was 15 different authors got together with me to do this book, and they're all very amazing authors, and I felt very blessed to be able to work with them.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but do all of the profits off of this book go to autism research?
It goes to autism awareness. I went to a convention, I believe you were at, in Cocoa Beach, and that the inspiration to do this book was when I signed up for this convention, they announced that the charity for the convention was going to be Surfers for Autism. And I messaged the coordinators and I said, hey, how would you feel if I did this book and we could put all the proceeds that we earn with the book towards the Surfers for Autism program as well? So what I do is I get with them and we donate the money to Surfers for Autism out of Cocoa Beach.
Sweet.
Yeah.
And see, this, ladies and gentlemen, autism has become very close to my heart because I have been involved with several authors, Julie Morgan and a few others who either have children who have been diagnosed with this, Cherron, I'm going to say beautiful, unique personality. Because I don't call it a disability.
Right. It is. It's very, very unique. And sometimes you have to step back and go, yeah, that's just them being them. And it's not a bad thing, but sometimes the things my daughter and my brother do just make me go, huh, okay.
Well, you get to see the world in a different light. Yeah, you get to see the
definitely, and I mean, I like that because it helps with my book writing and stuff too. You know, the more types of people that you have in your life as an author, the more types of people you can represent in the books you write as well.
That's true. You know, that's very true. And the misconception is people diagnosed with autism are blithering idiots 24/7. That is not true.
Not at all. Not at all. Most of the people I have experience with are very smart, have ambition in their lives, and they don't see them. Most of the ones I know don't see themselves as different. They see themselves as just, you know, they do things differently, but they still get it done, and they want to live their lives.
And they think in a three-dimensional view where we, as quote-unquote, loose quotes, normal people, think many times in a one-dimensional view. And we cheat ourselves because they see things that we absolutely refuse to see because we won't open up our hearts and minds to see it.
Right.
To us, red is red. To them, red is vibrant. It's brilliant. It's blasting. It's
Yes.
fire. It's all these different emotions, and we just say, oh, it's red.
Yeah.
Okay, no big deal. Well, no, y'all cannot go get that book yet, but I highly recommend that. It's called Pieces of the Heart.
Yes.
And
Pieces of the Heart, Authors for Autism. And, yes, 15 wonderful authors. And then you can read their stories and you can go get all their books, too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit. We talked about the Slice series. Let's talk about the other two standalones, Defying Destiny and Kisses and Revenge.
Yes. So Defying Destiny was the first full-length novel that I wrote. Before that, I had published some short stories with a friend of mine named Cindy, and she had a really small press out of New Zealand called Parador. And so that was my publishing experience, but that gave me the bug. So then November came around, and November is known in the author world as NaNoWriMo. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And I decided that's what I was going to do. And I wrote Defying Destiny in the month of November.
Wow.
And it started out as I'm going to write this rock star romance, but it developed into a very personal story for me because it deals a lot with addiction and things like that, beyond the romance. And I had to deal with people in my life with addiction growing up. And I remember going on a trip with my mother, and I was at this particular scene, and she walked into the hotel room where we were staying, and I'm at my computer because I had to get my words in, and I have tears like flowing down my face as I'm trying to write this, and she's like, I'm just going to go and let you be. So it became very personal, and it is the one book out of all of my books. Like, I have a lot of people who really enjoy the Spice books, and I have a lot of people who enjoy a lot of my short stories and stuff. But that book, I've had so many people tell me how much it touched them because of the elements that it dealt with. And one of my first, every author looks forward to their fans, and one of my first hardcore fans, this was the book that she read. She actually won it, and she found me on Facebook, and we talk all the time, and so it became more than just a book to me.
It became a pathway. It became a journey to help others who were struggling. And there's, ladies and gentlemen, there's a addiction to a lot of things. There's addiction to drugs. There's addiction to food. There's addiction to sex. There's addiction to alcohol. There's addiction to driving fast. I mean, you can make anything in your life an addiction. Mm-hmm. And would it be safe to say that this book was about learning how to overcome and no longer become a victim to addiction, but to become a survivor at the other end of that tunnel?
Well, not just that, but it was also about how to be that person, how to be the non-addicted person, and how to handle your own feelings when going through a relationship with somebody who has addiction. At the end of the book, I have a lot of the resources for Al-Anon and stuff like that, because growing up, I wasn't the person that had the addiction, but I was still affected by it. Right. And a lot of people don't realize that is just as much part of it as being the person who has the addiction. And so this book deals with both sides of it. It deals with the person who's going through an addiction and not knowing what to do with themselves, and then the person who's trying to save this person and help this person, and then feeling angry with this person for putting them through it, and trying to balance these emotions, loving somebody and being really angry with somebody all at the same time. And it's a very hard thing to do.
And knowing that you can't save them because they're not ready to be saved, and they don't want to save themselves because it's too much like work.
Exactly. And that happens a lot. And, in this book, I didn't want to go too far into, the lost cause aspect of it, but this does happen. And I've had relationships where I had to say, I love you, but I'm sorry, I can't do this, and had to separate myself from people because there comes a point that if they don't want help, obviously, then there's nothing else you can do, and you can't let it destroy your own life.
And it will, and
it will, and it's a hard choice, and it's not fun, and it's very heartbreaking.
Well, the person on the other end who's trying to save the one who's addicted at times begins to feel guilty because they're not down in the bottom of that pit, because the addicted person says, you don't understand, you don't know how I feel, yada yada yada, and no, we don't know how they feel, we know how we feel.
Yeah.
And it becomes a push me pull you type of relationship, which is destructive.
Yes, and it can be, and sometimes you find people and you can help them and you can move past it and you can heal. And then there are times where I've had to help friends through this and stuff too. And there's times that you have to say, well, you got to let it go, and they'll find their happiness one way or another. But you've done all you can.
And sometimes moving away from that person is the biggest favor that you can do them.
Exactly. There's a lot of people that I've had experience with in my life that what they needed from me was for me to be there so that they could need me. It becomes a cycle of need and need and need, and then me needing to help them. And so it almost becomes an addiction in and of itself of, I have to help this person, I have to help this person. And sometimes you have to let go so they can see that they have to find a way to do it on their own, and you can move on and live your own life.
And because with unbeknownst to the person who's trying to help the addicted one, they become an enabler. Because they're always there to pick up the pieces, and there has to come a time where, I love you, but I can't pick up your pieces anymore. You got to pick up the pieces of your own life and carry that burden yourself.
Exactly.
Well, let's talk about kisses and revenge. Now, that's an oxymoron.
Yes. Kisses and Revenge was my naughty book.
Uh-oh. Okay. Do tell. Tell us more.
Well, I had gone to Book Obsessed Babes in Jacksonville, and they had a publisher there, and that publisher was doing a story contest. So their big focus was erotica books. And I'm like, okay, I can do this. I used to write this stuff when I was in high school. Sure, whatever, And so I went home and I wrote this really naughty story, and I sent it in, and it turned into they wanted me to write more. So I was like, okay. And I took this little 5,000 word short story and I expanded upon it, and it's a mystery story, and there's a whole bunch of twists and turns in it, but it's a naughty story. It's one of those stories that I don't talk to my mom about this one because I don't want to look at her.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is the synopsis of this book. All Leslie Bradshaw had ever wanted was a nice home and a great family. See, it starts out innocent enough. The day she married Adam Finn, she was sure all of her dreams of domestic bliss would come true. However, after 5 years, her cherished dreams would never be realized. The shocking murder of her husband leaves her alone, befret, and terrified, struggling to piece together her life without him as its center. As she desperately scrambles to put her life back together, Leslie is sure she is the only one who can discover the answers to the dark secrets surrounding Adam's death. When Warren Finn lost both parents and his brother within the course of a year, taking care of his brother's widow seemed to be the right thing to do. Be told, He'd always been secretly in love with her himself. But can he earn Leslie's whole heart, or is she too focused on the ghost of her past to see the man devoted to her? And ladies and gentlemen, this cover is smoking hot. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Every man's fantasies on the cover, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you. A hot-looking babe and a Sig Sauer on the pillow. Doesn't get any better than that. You are an evil person, Cherron. An evil, evil person.
Oh, goodness. I like writing naughty stories. I don't write them as much publishing-wise because they make me blush. Like, I have a lot of trouble talking about this one because I just turn bright red and, like, I feel like I have a fever all of a sudden because I get nervous.
Oh.
I love to write it, and I can't.
Nervous?
I have no idea. I've always been that way. Like I said, I wrote this kind of stuff in high school, and my friends, they would call me on the phone. We didn't have cell phones back then. They would call me, and they'd be like, "What'd you write today?" And I would read all of the non-naughty stuff, and then I'd tell them they could read the naughty stuff at school tomorrow or whatever, because I wasn't going to read that to them over the phone. I just get so embarrassed, and I don't know why. I've always just I get for it.
Well, the cover, it's a killer cover, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you. Now, you have two web series, Princess of the Underworld and The Good Girl Diaries. Okay.
Yes.
Princess of the Underworld and The Good, again, an oxymoron. Tell me about these.
All right. Well, Princess of the Underworld. As you mentioned earlier, I do have two daughters. And my second daughter, from the time she was about 5 years old, started telling me stories about her life in the underworld, because that's where she apparently comes from.
Okay.
And about her underworld family. And so, and she was so consistent with it, which is strange. She's about to turn 9. And this entire time, everything has been consistent. The details that she came up with has been consistent. The name of the sword, the people, the bad guys in the story are werewolves, because she's deathly afraid of werewolves, and it just stayed the same. So I said, okay, I'm going to take your story and I'm going to grow it up a little bit, because if you're 9, and I can't write a 9-year-old story, but I can write a teenager story. And so it is basically every month I put a chapter of the book up, and it's about this girl discovering that she's really this being, this demonic being, but not a bad demonic being, and she has to go save her family and her people. So that was all my daughter, and she picked the cover and everything.
It's a beautiful cover.
It is her love. Yes. I love it. She saw it and she's like, that's it. That's my cover. And she wanted to show all her friends and tells everybody about it. And yes, that is her. And right now I've only got about, I think, 4 up right now. So it's just getting started. It's just getting into the part where the action's starting to happen. The setup, been established now. And so I'm hoping to start getting some more interesting stuff up with it.
Interesting. Yes, you have 4 up. Ladies and gentlemen, the first one is called Past and Present Become One. An Old Friend Returns, Training, and Off My Guard. So you read these on Cherron's website under web series. Now tell me about the second one, The Good Girl Diaries.
The Good Girl Diaries was inspired by, I had a dream that I was like going to a rock concert, but I myself am kind of like a shy, nerdy girl. And so it just kind of developed from this little dream that I had of going to this rock concert and like, gooing and gawing over the hot rock star guy. So Good Girl Diaries is about this girl who loved rock and roll music growing up, and had a bad experience with a boy in a band and decided, that's it, I'm over it. And then her friend convinces her to go to a concert with her, and everything just comes back. And it's kind of a funny romance, little quirky, and every one of the stories ends with like a little diary entry where she's talking about how frustrated she is with her love of rock stars and not wanting to love rock stars.
Okay, I understand that. It's sort of like her addiction of choice.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, I will not look at the rock boys, no more rock boys. And I really listen to a lot of rock music myself, so I kind of understand that, there's times I'm like, I'm going to go to the rock concert, and I get all blushy too, I'm human.
Of course you are, but so cute. So that one is also on Cherron's webpage under her web series. And no, y'all cannot go yet. You have to wait because Cherron is going to tell us where she can be found.
Oh, wow. So let's see. Well, I'm on Amazon, and most of my books are in ebook. You can usually get them in small print and in large print. My mother insisted that I format all my books for large print for people who have trouble seeing.
God love her. God love your mother.
Yes. I don't always have large print books with me when I go to conventions, but all of them are formatted that way, and I'm always more than happy to order them. I'm on because I also publish through Smashwords, you can usually get my ebooks at like Barnes & Noble, iBooks, Kobo, yada, yada. I don't know. There's a bunch of them that it goes through. Then obviously I have my website, www.cherronriser.com, and everything is on there. I usually put up places that I'm going to be. Like this weekend, I'm going to be going to a convention in Ozark, Alabama called Fanaticon. I'm actually going to do a panel there and discuss self-publishing and things like that. I'm on Twitter. Just look for @CherronRiser. I'm on Instagram. Again, look for @CherronRiser. I made it very simple. I also have a Patreon page, and for that, sometimes I'll post like some of my stories early and things like that. Patreon is a site for artists and writers and creators of different kinds, and it's a way for people who enjoy different people to help support them. And all of everything about me can also be found on my website, which is probably the easiest place to start. And I'm, of course, on Facebook.
Yeah, you want to hook up with her on Facebook because she's absolutely hysterical. Some of the things you post, I just roll on the floor laughing. You've got a wicked sense of humor, which I absolutely adore.
Yes, and my Facebook is kind of strange because it goes between like my writing and stuff, and then it goes into a lot of like health and wellness stuff because I recently lost a lot of weight, and so I talk about that stuff a lot too.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
And she also supports other authors in a big way, and that's what we do in this independent industry is we support each other. Because if we didn't, ladies and gentlemen, we would not be where we are today. Would that be a fair statement?
Oh, very much so. I don't see other authors as competition. I see them as people who give me books to read, and I want to support them, and I hope they support me. And I have a lot of friends out there in the author community that I work with them, and they work with me, and we help each other out because, when one of us succeeds, we all succeed a little more.
Absolutely, and hence that's why we have this show, so that y'all can get heard in places that you probably would not be heard if it were not for this show, because we're heard in South Africa and Japan and Egypt and Israel and the Czech Republic and Russia, Scotland, Ireland, the UK, Australia, little bitty countries Tanzania of all places, South Sudan of all places. I mean, really, people, South Korea, Italy, Colombia, Brazil, Portugal. People are giving opportunities that most don't get, even traditionally published authors don't get, because unless they come on a show like this, they don't get that kind of exposure.
Yeah, exactly. For a while there, I thought most of my fan base was in New Zealand and Australia, though, because a lot of the people I talk to online are from over there. I always ask them how things are in the future. they're so far ahead of us. I'm like, how's the future?
That is true. That is true. Do you remember at the beginning of the show I told you that this hour would fly by?
It did. It did.
Yep. We are at the closing moments of our show. I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I want you to come back. So,
I will, definitely.
Okay, we'll put you down for probably May. That way maybe you'll have even more little tidbits of wisdom for us, and we can talk about autism awareness some more and how wonderful and unique those beautiful, beautiful people are. And when the show goes dark, don't hang up, because I want to tell you some things. But ladies and gentlemen, I am so proud and honored that Cherron came on the show. Look her up under Cherron, Cherron, last name Riser, Riser. And no, you cannot go now. You have to wait till the show goes dark. Because as independent authors, this is how we get exposure. And we don't have big name public relations firms pimping us. We pimp each other, and we love it because it's so much fun. So I'm going to do just a moment of pimping for myself. On January the 5th, ladies and gentlemen, mark that on your calendars, January the 5th at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So wherever you are, either add hours or take away hours. On the Investigation Discovery Channel, the name of the show is Married with Secrets. I will be on that show. I will be discussing Florida's first serial killer, Gerard Schaefer, and my book, Silent Scream, which is about his victims. This is my 4th television appearance, 2 in Europe and now 2 here. The 2 in Europe, one was in France, one was in England and Australia. The first one was on Investigation Discovery under Sexual Deviance several years ago. And now this one, Married with Secrets, January the 5th at 10 p.m. on the Investigation Discovery Channel. Please put that on your calendars and watch it and spread the word, because the victims run this train. I don't, they do. And as I say at the end of every show, if you want to be special, stop just feeling special, because if you just feel special, you'll never be special. And if you want to achieve greatness, would you please stop asking permission? Because Cherron will tell you, if you stop and ask permission, people are not going to give it to you because they don't think it's special. The difference between who you are today and who you want to be tomorrow is what you do today. So if you want to change who you are, then you have to change what you do. Your smile is your logo. Your personality is your business card. And how you leave others feeling after having had an experience with you, ladies and gentlemen, that is your trademark. People will never remember your name. They will never remember what you look like. But I guarantee you, they will remember how you made them feel. Cherron, would that be a fair statement?
Very much so.
So, ladies and gentlemen, remember that. The next time you're out and you're having a bad day and someone's having a worse day, make them feel special, because they will remember that. Just a little story. This happened yesterday. I was in Walgreens. There's a woman in front of me, and she was fumbling around trying to pay for some things with some coupons, and she was just not focused. Well, her bill was 96 cents. So I told the lady behind the counter, I said, I got her bill. And the woman looked at me, and I said, you look like you needed that. She said, I just lost my husband. So, ladies and gentlemen, you don't ever know the impression you leave other people with. Leave them with a good one. So with that, we say good night. Okay, we are off the air.
All right.
What I'm going to do, this is going to go up in archives. And when it goes up in archives, I'm going to put the link up on my page. I'm going to tag you in it. My gift to you is to give you this show and the 5 podcasts that I will put up tomorrow, and you pimp it anywhere you want to pimp it, because I will be putting it up on Spreaker, SoundCloud, Mixcloud, Podcast, and Podcast.com. It also goes up on automatically iTunes, YouTube, FM.com, and TuneIn Radio.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
So that's how you're heard in over 70 countries.
Yeah.
So
awesome. So it'll be on YouTube?
Yes, ma'am. It's under Yvonne Mason. Yeah, it's on YouTube. Just go under YouTube, type in Yvonne Mason, and it'll be there. It automatically goes up there, and it automatically goes up on iTunes on Off the Chain with host Yvonne Mason as a podcast.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
and
we'll do that.
And when I put the keywords in, I use author Cherron Riser. Your name goes with everything, so that anytime your name is pulled up, your podcast and this show will come up.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
So, yes, ma'am, you will now be heard everywhere.
Woo! I'm excited. I'm excited to see what it does. I actually saw a lot of stuff happen for me when I went to Cocoa Beach, and so I'm excited to see how this goes. And like I said, I'm going to this convention this weekend, so I'm trying to get out there.
You're going places, my darling. You are going places, and I will send you some dates in May to get you back on, and just let you be a regular, like all the regulars that come on here. You'll just be one of the regular guests.
That would be great. Thank you.
You are so welcome. So I'm going to get off of here so this thing can go up into archives, and I will send you some dates. All right, you pick a date, any date in May, for a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Saturday night. You pick the date, and you tell me when you're going to be available, and I'll go ahead and put you down. So as soon as we get off, you check your calendar and tell me what you want.
Okay, I'll do that.
All right,
I'll
darling.
Send you a message on Facebook.
Yep, that
All right,
works.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for spending an hour with me. It was a lot of fun.
It was. I had a great time.
All right, sweetie. Give the youngins a hug for me.
I will.
Okay, honey. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.